Hello and welcome back to the Champion Draft Series recap for Week 3. I'm your host, Pink Ghost, and joining me today is We the Peoples. Peoples, how you doing today?
Yo, I'm good, Pink Ghost. I'm good. I'm ready and super excited to get into seeing these matches today.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of exciting and dramatic, tense matches going on through these last few weeks, so let me not hold you here any longer, and let's just start with the news.
Several players with access to Demacia in their roster have recently been using these tools to play go big, go wide, elite strategies to amazing success. This deck has been popular on ladder, but in the draft, many Demacia champions were skipped, including Garen. Ghost, has there been any recent change to create this development?
Yeah, Peoples, Demacia is not a region that all of our players have access to, but the ones who have been taking a great advantage of it. Now, Demacia itself and the elite strategy was buffed recently in the variety patch, which was after the draft, but the only card that they really got was the blocking Badger Bear, the new elite unit, the 4/4, which is pretty big, pretty impactful. But is that enough to make a deck from tier 3 to tier 0? I'm not exactly sure about this, so a lot of players have just come to realize, maybe through ladder, maybe through their interactions in the opens or tournaments, that a lot of the elites together, regardless if you draw the new Badger Bear or not, regardless of what champions you can have these very powerful early curves with a lot of big, wide, tall, basically units in all directions, right? This week we had several players take advantage of their Demacian access to go for a powerful elite strategy. Puffball getting an early win with her Kale Quinn deck, and Absolution using Jarvan Kai'Sa, not a normal elite pairing you see with Jarvan, but was still able to quickly take his first game against Capitao Circuit. He's not the only one either. Aikato last week was able to take on Capitao as well with an elite strategy of his own, so definitely a weakness in Capitao's lineup, it would seem. But yeah, as you were saying, Peoples, there were several champions that were not drafted, all from the Demacia region. We have Galio, we have Lucian, and Garen himself, the main unit in elite decks, were not drafted. And as we approach our mid-season trade week, and some players might be looking to take advantage of this elite strategy after the success that it has seen so far in our draft, I wouldn't be that surprised if we saw less Demacia champs left over at the end of this mid-season trade week. But Demacia elite strategies aren't the only decks that have been dominating the series so far, and we are going to show you a deck that has been used to great success by Mafraju in today's deck dive. So Mafraju is a player who has so far been dominating the series, but last week Joey and I sort of criticized her, as well as a few other players, for just sort of bringing the same lists back to back each week and making it really easy for her opponents to target her lineup and sort of expect what she's going to bring. Well, Mafraju decided to bring something different this week, something that she thought was going to do very well into Spids' lineup as something that would be hard for her to deal with, and that is a blast from the past, Peoples. I am going to introduce you now to her Draven Ezreal Tri-Beam list with a couple of additional aspects from later expansions.
Really exciting to see that Mafraju is playing Raven Bloom Conservatory. I think it's really cool to see that this card is seeing play after it got buffed. Also, the simple fact that when she does play Tybo, it does buff Tri-Beam, acting as if she got an additional proc on the Tri-Beam, so she doesn't have to play an additional 3-cost spell.
Yeah, that is a funny little interaction there. And you'll notice, if you're familiar with the traditional Draven Ezreal Tri-Beam list, that there's not as many 3-cost cards as there normally is. I mean, you have your champions, you have your sentries, your archivists, and you've got like a few spells, but going instead for a lot of the lower cost removal spells that you see in today's broad main decks of now, just saying that, yeah, my Tibbles are going to be able to help me increase the damage of this Improbulator. And this is also a decision that Mafraju just takes after acknowledging the decks that Spids is going to bring. The most threatening units in Spids' decks are most likely going to be her champions, and you really don't need to deal more than 4 or 5 damage to deal with most of these threats. So you don't have to get a 10 damage tri-beam. That is pretty hype, of course, but not something that is necessary. Getting 4 or 5 damage on your tri-beam to remove an important unit from Spids and summon a unit of your own is more than enough to give you an edge.
It's also really exciting to see this One of Death Lotus. I think it's definitely really exciting, especially being played against Spids and her lineup. I believe she's on a lot of 1 health units, so this could just instantly, this is basically just like an instant win con sometimes, right? If Mafraju does draw it, obviously. There's no way to just search it in the deck. But in the hand of Mafraju, this could be pretty much a win condition. It could wipe the whole board.
Yeah, and of course, if all else fails, if you don't get your leveled Ezreal finisher, if you don't find your conservatories, you've got Reggie here. He's a good guy. He can find you a way to win the game. No doubt about it. So great to see him in another list. Always love me some Reggie. So yeah, thank you, Mafraju, for bringing us a blast from the past and this very clever use of the options that she has in her roster to go against Spids. Fantastic choices and decisions by her. We love to see it here in this series. But speaking of this competition, as we're 3 weeks into the series now, and we've started to see who's performing what, how players are doing and such, let's start talking a little bit about how the competition is developing.
Mafraju is dominating with tempo right behind her, and pretty much everyone else is neck and neck. It's, to be honest, it's anyone's game, and I'm excited to get into the competition.
Yeah, while Mafraju still remains undefeated in this series, the only player to have done so, she can no longer say that she's never lost a match. Spids, like usual, has been paying very close attention to her opponent's lineup and trying to target things specifically, this time very much planning to take on Mafraju's infamous Lurk deck, building decks that do very well in that strategy, but unfortunately it does not seem very prepared for the Draven Ezreal list that we just recently looked at. And then let's talk a little bit about the Absol versus Capitao match. It was very likely that one of these two was going to find a spot in the top 4 position this week if they beat the other one. So both of them brought their A game. Absol didn't even bring Jin Kennen. That's how serious he was going into this week. And he brought those elites with Jarvan and Kai'Sa to beat down Capitao and completely destroyed him game 1 and almost took him down in game 2 as well. But Capitao was able to pull it back and win that match, locking him a spot in this week for one of the top 4 positions. But it was very interesting to see specifically Capitao's Lux Jace deck, arguably one of the strongest decks in the competitive constructive meta that he has after the addition of Formula and some of these few other buffs to the deck. And yet he seemed to really be struggling with it. Absol's Elite deck, which Jace Lux is supposed to be pretty good into, as we mentioned before, absolutely mopped the floor over Jace Lux. And then Darkness came very close to winning as well. Capitao playing his champions, but Absol just removing those champions. And if it weren't for some very tricky maneuvering by Capitao around Absol's plays, that could have been a quick 2-0 by Absolution. But the game that we want to highlight, peoples, the game that we want to go straight into for our highlights of the week is the grudge match between Aikado and Puffball. As you've heard us mention before, Puffball Panda was devastated when Aikado took away Leona from the draft in the first round before she had a chance to pick it up after her Vayne pick. Didn't think that it was going to be that competitive a pick, but either way, she came with a vengeance today, and boy were they some exciting matches. I cannot wait to get into this highlight.
Now we just gotta win with the bilge deck, which, if you weren't paying attention earlier, the bilge deck is the one that I said is the most sus.
This is a tough matchup, just because they're running so many flocks in Conservatory.
Okay, that card's really good in this matchup. Wait a second. Puffball Panda, I need you to chill the fuck out, homie.
And we just gotta hope and pray that Aikado doesn't have Blade's Edge, or Make It Rain, or Heavy Metal, or anything.
Is it worth just getting Katarina down here?
Huh. We'll force him to use Blade's Edge here, and then we'll just catch.
Okay, that's fine.
Alright. Am I really gonna go down to 10 health here? Is this really what we want? No, I really don't want to go down to 10 health here. Ain't no fucking way.
This is so bad to like ping Disintegrate, ping Flock. But the issue, chat, I don't know if I've touched on it yet. The issue is I don't have any of those things. So it doesn't matter. She's just gonna fucking flip her girl again.
Yeah, how important is it for me to level my Vayne? I don't know, but I'm gonna do it. We're just purging every last monster out here, am I right?
Okay. That card's not a terrible draw. Okay, sure. No, for sure.
Aikado attacks here. I mean, I'm pretty sure Aikado's on Ravenous Flock at this point, right? Like, it's almost certain. We can guarantee that Aikado is on Ravenous Flock.
Bro, where are my flocks?
But I leave this Aatrox in my hand. No, this poor Vayne.
This would be a very different game, but like, don't cry. Don't stop it, Puffball Panda. I know that you have another Vayne, B another Aatrox, and you could just play a Staratu. Yeah, no, fuck off. No, fuck you, Puffball Panda. Bro, stop it.
We drew the last Aatrox, Pug. Let's go.
At any point, where are my cards that do things? It's just too late. It's too late. Where are any of my cards? Ah!
Yes, let's go! Fuck yeah! Yes! I'm so happy!
Yeah, it's been several days since that match occurred, peoples, and I am still sweating, let me tell you. Whew. But anyways, that's about all the time that we have for today. Of course, as always, here are the player scores on screen for you now, their current placements. And the mid-season is vastly approaching. We still a lot of games to play left, but losing opportunities if they aren't taken advantage of to get those points and lock yourself in for a seat in the top 4 at the end of this series. But speaking of this week, starting tomorrow, we have our week 4 games. Here is the schedule up on the board for you as always. Man, I am so excited for these games and so glad to have brought you guys another weekly recap here for the Champion of Draft series, and really glad that I could have Peoples here with me as well.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I had fun going over everything. I'm super excited to see how the Elzon versus Alphaju match goes. I'm really excited to see how that goes. So let's just wait and see, all right?
Well, you won't have to wait long, just a little bit. But for now, we will all bid you farewell.